Love is not a permanent state of enthusiasm. I heard this sentence on a podcast a few weeks ago, and I've been sitting with it ever since. The more I think about it, the more I realize how much it reflects the way I see love now. I don't know whether it was getting older, my last relationship, or a combination of both, but if someone had said that to me 20 years ago, I probably would have disagreed. Because when we're younger, enthusiasm is exactly what we think love is. The butterflies, the excitement, the anticipation, the late night conversations that somehow never feel long enough. The feeling that seeing someone's name on your phone can completely change your mood. The strange ability one person has to make an ordinary Tuesday feel unforgettable. At that age, it's hard to imagine love looking any different. We don't just enjoy those feelings, we build our definition of love around them. The stronger the butterflies, the stronger the love. The more excitement, the better the relationship. The more intense the emotions, the more certain it must be. Looking back, I don't think that's because we're naive. I think it's because those feelings are often the first version of love we ever experience. They're loud, they're immediate, they're impossible to ignore. Of course, we believe they matter. The problem is they're also temporary. Not because something's wrong, but because that's how feelings work. Nothing stays at its highest intensity forever. Not excitement, not happiness, not fear, not grief. Even the best moments of our lives eventually become memories we revisit, instead of emotions we constantly live inside. Love isn't exempt from that. Eventually, the butterflies become familiar. The conversations become quieter. Life slowly replaces novelty with routine. You stop learning each other's favorite color and start learning who forgot to pay the electricity bill. You stop wondering what they're like and start discovering who they really are. And somewhere in that transition, many people begin asking, do I still love them? Have we lost the spark? Has something changed? Maybe what disappeared wasn't love. Maybe, but not in the way we think. Maybe it was simply the feeling that introduced us to it. Because if love could only exist while we felt excited, almost no relationship would survive real life. Real life isn't made of grand gestures. It's made of grocery lists, traffic, laundry, long work days, family problems, unexpected bills, bad moods, ordinary Tuesdays. And if love disappears the moment life becomes ordinary, then maybe we were expecting it to do something it was never designed to do. I think one of the quietest changes that comes with getting older is that we stop asking, how strongly do I feel? And start asking, who are they when love isn't exciting? How do they handle disappointment? How do they communicate when they're frustrated? Can they apologize? Can they listen? Can they stay kind when they're stressed? Can I? Those questions would have sounded boring to a younger version of me. Now, they're the questions I find most interesting. Because chemistry can start a relationship, but character is actually what determines whether it lasts. But maybe that's the thing about heartbreak, it rarely teaches us its lesson while we're living through it. When you're in the middle of losing someone, you're too busy surviving it. You're trying to understand what happened, trying to make sense of conversations that suddenly sound different in your head, replaying moments, looking for answers, looking for mistakes, looking for something that explains why something that once felt certain ended. The lessons usually arrive much later, sometimes months later, sometimes years. Usually after the emotions stop speaking louder than your thoughts. That's when you're finally able to look back honestly, not to rewrite the past, but to understand it. And sometimes, what we discover is uncomfortable, because not everything we called love was actually love. Sometimes it was attachment, sometimes it was loneliness. Sometimes it was the relief of finally feeling chosen. Sometimes it was the comfort of having someone there. Sometimes it was the fear of starting over. Sometimes it was simply the hope that if we loved someone enough, they would choose us back in the same way. There's nothing shameful about admitting that we're human. Most of us are learning about relationship while we're already inside it. No one hands us a manual. No one tells us the difference between chemistry and compatibility, between wanting someone and actually knowing how to love them. Maybe that's why I don't regret the relationship that ended. Of course, I wish it had hurt less. Of course, I wish some things had been different. But I also know I wouldn't be thinking about love this way if I hadn't gone through it. Some lessons are expensive. You pay for them with time, with disappointment, with tears, with a version of yourself that existed before everything changed. But once you've paid for them, you don't want to waste them. One thing I've come to appreciate over the years is that love isn't only about what another person makes us feel. It's also about the experience we create for them. And maybe that's why the older I get, the more I believe that one of the purest expressions of love is consideration. Not the dramatic kind, not the kind that gets posted online. Just the quiet habit of remembering that another person's inner world is just as real as yours. Considering how your words might stay with them. Considering how your decisions might affect them. Considering what they might be carrying that you know nothing about. Considering that sometimes being right isn't nearly as important as being kind. When you really think about it, some things we admire in healthy relationships grow out of that one habit. Respect, patience, honesty, reliability, trust. None of them happen by accident. They began the moment we stop asking, what do I need right now? And start asking, how will this affect the person I love? Looking back, I don't think the moments that hurt me the most were the disagreements. Every relationship has disagreements. It wasn't even the ending. Sometimes relationships simply end. What stayed with me were the moments where consideration quietly disappeared. The moments where someone stopped wondering how their choices might affect the other person. The moments where honesty became less important than convenience. The moments where someone's feelings became easier to ignore than to understand. Those moments changed me. Not because they made me afraid of love, but because they made me realize how much consideration matters. Not just when everything is going well, especially when it isn't. Because consideration isn't tested when love feels easy. It's tested when you're frustrated, when you're disappointed, when you're tired, when walking away feels easier than staying curious. And I think that's when love quietly reveals what it's really made of. And maybe that's the lesson my last relationship left behind. Not that I should love less. Not that I should be more careful. Not that I should stop believing in love altogether. It simply changed what I believe love asks of us. For most of my life, I thought love was mostly about finding the right person. Someone who made me feel understood, someone who made me feel wanted, someone who made life feel a little brighter. I don't think those things are wrong. I still want them. But somewhere along the way, the questions quietly changed. Instead of asking, who is the right person for me? I started asking, who am I when I love someone? For the first time, I wanted to heal parts of myself. Not because someone asked me to, not because they expected me to, not because they demanded it, but because I wanted to show up differently. I wanted to communicate better, to understand myself better, to respond instead of react. I wanted to stop making someone else carry the consequences of wounds that I didn't create. That sentence stayed with me for a long time because I realized how easy it is to unknowingly hand our unfinished healing to someone who had nothing to do with causing it. We expect them to reassure our insecurities, to undo our fears, to prove that this relationship will be different from the last, without realizing that they're carrying things too. Looking back, that was one of the first moments I understood that love isn't only about receiving, it's also about responsibility. Not responsibility for another person's happiness, no one can carry that, but responsibility of the version of yourself you bring into the relationship. The conversations you avoid, the fears you haven't faced, the habits you've never questioned, the ways you've learned to protect yourself that may no longer protect the person you love. I don't think healing ever really ends. I think we simply become more aware of the parts of ourselves that still need compassion. And maybe that's why the podcast quote has stayed with me. Love is not a permanent state of enthusiasm, because enthusiasm eventually becomes ordinary life. real love has to survive after the excitement settles, after routines replace surprises, after you've heard the same stories more times than you can count, after life becomes less cinematic and more ordinary. Maybe that's where love quietly proves itself, not through intensity but through consistency, through choosing kindness on days when kindness doesn't come naturally, through communicating even when silence would be easier, through remaining curious about someone you've known for years, through continuing to ask, "How are you?" and still caring about the answer. I don't think younger me would have understood any of this, and that's okay. I don't think she was supposed to. She believed in butterflies. I believe she needed to. Because every version of us loves with understanding we have at that time. And maybe that's all any of us are doing, trying our best with what we know today. If love ever finds me again, I don't need perfection. I don't need someone who always says the right thing, or someone who has already figured everything out. Because I don't think any of us arrive in love completely whole. We all carry experiences that shaped us. We all have fears that still visit us from time to time. We all have parts of ourselves that we're still learning to understand. I just hope I meet someone who's willing to do that work alongside me. Someone whose presence feels reassuring instead of uncertain. Someone who communicates instead of making me guess. Someone who chooses honesty over assumptions. Someone who isn't afraid of difficult conversations. Someone who's still growing, not because growth is trendy, but because they believe that loving another person also means continuing to become a better one. And I hope I can offer the same, because I don't want to spend another relationship wondering where I stand. I don't want love to feel like something I have to earn every day. I want it to feel like two imperfect people who keep choosing each other, not because it's always easy, not because excitement never fades, but because they've decided that the ordinary days are worth choosing too. Maybe that's what love has become for me. Not a permanent state of enthusiasm, not butterflies that never leave, just two people trying to leave each other a little gentler, a little safer, and a little better than they found each other.